It's the Next Level Physicians podcast with Dr. Maiysha, empowering doctors and medical professionals to thrive outside the box. Dropping new episodes every Monday so you can start your week thriving right. What's up, y'all? It's Dr. Maiysha, Stress-Free Mom MD, and we are back for another episode. Let me quit tripping, y'all. This is actually my first episode. And with my first episode comes my first guest who inspired me to even get to moving on this podcast, Dr. Charmaine Gregory, better known as Dr. G.
Oh, such a privilege to be here.
Oh, such a privilege to have you. So first and foremost, I just want to thank you because you inspired me. Now, you guys, we're here at the Thrive 2G conference in San Antonio, and it has been a most phenomenal conference. But what I have to say is that I got my whole conference money's worth in a 3-hour conversation with Dr. G.
Oh my goodness.
And
why are you embarrassing me now?
Kidding, right? So we're sitting on the courtyard in this beautiful 5-star resort talking about, podcasting and coaching and all of the things that we're doing. And she's like, why haven't you pulled the trigger on this podcast? And let me tell you, y'all, I had promised that I would have this podcast done by the end of the month. I didn't know how it was going to get done. I did not know that I would be sitting in this courtyard talking to Dr. G, but she inspired me to get it done. It is so easy. It's so easy. Talk to us about your podcast and how your journey and how you got it done.
Oh my goodness. So it is something that, like you think, oh my goodness, it's so daunting because all these famous people have podcasts and who am I? Nobody's going to want to listen to my voice. But it is very easy to get started. And it is just like you said, Dr. Clairborne, like literally as soon as you pull the trigger, that's all it takes. So for me, the reason why I started a podcast, and the podcast is called Fearless Freedom with Dr. G, the reason I started a podcast was because I am afraid of public speaking. I have a visceral fear of public speaking, and I knew that I had to take some massive action towards changing that. And one of the ways that I figured would be beneficial would be to start a podcast about fear. Ba-bow!
Right. Like, what better way to get over your fear than to be speaking all the time to other people?
Yes.
Right? And you would really never know that you had a fear of public speaking, but that's the whole point.
That is the whole point. The more you do it, the more you interface, the more you engage with others, is the less the fear is intense. Mm-hmm. So the fear never goes away, but you just have a vehicle now through which you can grow.
Absolutely. And what was I saying right before I pressed the record button? I'm so nervous.
That's right. And you're a total natural. Look at that.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet. Yeah, so, what tips do you have for the audience listening who may want to start their own podcast?
So I will say that if you think of it, you should do it. You have nothing to lose. There are so many ears out there. There is your tribe out there. You may not realize that you have a tribe, but you do. So whatever the struggle is that you're going through, or whatever the thing is that you have an idea that would be interesting to talk about, you should just do it. Because somebody's sitting out there waiting for you to start.
It's so funny because, I have been, this journey of starting up, I'm going to start a podcast, actually started about this time last year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I didn't tell you that part. So I used to have a radio show called The Wellness Blueprint for about 7 years. And it was so daunting because we had to be at a certain place at a certain time every Friday.
Okay.
And that it was almost like a sacrifice. We had to rearrange our schedule for it. So I think when I thought about starting a podcast, I thought this is going to be an enormous commitment, and I just came off of this enormous commitment, and I don't know if I have the bandwidth for it. And what I've realized over the last year, especially being on several different podcasts, including yours.
Yes, thank you for coming on. That was awesome.
Thank you for having me. Is that one of the great things about it is that you can schedule it on your own time.
Yes.
And if you have the system set up, then it really becomes effortless.
Yes.
And one of the things I love about what you do is you're mobile. Like,
yes, we are mobile. We are literally
so
sitting in a
mobile.
hotel lobby. Is it
Yes,
lobby? What
it
is
is a
this?
lobby. It's kind of like a
aisleway
lobby,
or
something
something.
like that.
Yeah, there's like noise in the background. I mean,
Yeah.
not like the optimal recording scenario, but
it's
we're mobile.
authentic.
That's right.
It's authentic.
We are
And
keeping it real.
I think that's what's so great is that, like, for me, it's like, oh, I got to have my whole studio set up, and I have to have the perfect mic, and I have to have this time every week, and da-da-da-da. And really, it just takes me having my phone and an app,
Yes.
and it's set up, and the proper microphone.
That's right.
To be able to do it, and people,
Yes.
because it's a conversation.
It is a conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, and it is. So you asked about steps that you can take. So it all depends. So the first step is going to be having the idea. And then the next step is going to be wanting to rip off the Band-Aid and just jumping in, right?
Yes.
So once you've accomplished those two things, you can start your podcast. There are, thankfully, some really cool modalities that are essentially all-in-one platforms, which we are currently using one of them right now, which is Anchor.fm. And basically what Anchor does is it does all the back-end work for you, which is super neat, because all you have to do is press record like we just did a few minutes ago,
know.
and then boom, you just put the episode together. So, those barriers to entry that we always think about, they really aren't there as intensely anymore.
Yeah.
So if you have an idea and you're ready to pull off the Band-Aid, you should go for it.
Go for it. And that is the order of the day. Like, rip off that Band-Aid, step past your fear. And here's the thing, like, when you declare that something's going to happen, the way will be made.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, I declared it. I was, people were like, start your podcast, start your podcast, start your podcast, start your podcast. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start my podcast, and I'm going to have it done by September. And I even declared it to my group. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go back to my group and tell them. And then here you show up. So accountability is key in fulfilling upon something that you say that you're going to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, speaking of accountability, you already know what's coming.
Here it comes, y'all.
So Dr. G and I were talking, because I'm a coach too, and we were talking, and I was like, Dr. G, you know so much about podcasts. Why haven't you produced a course around this?
Oh my gosh.
So Dr. G was like, you know what? I don't know. And I was like, okay, so can I refer now my clients to your new course that you're going to produce by the end of October?
That's right. That's
and
right.
She said
yes. I said yes. And it will happen by the end of October. We will have a course up for starting your podcast. And at the end of the course, you will have 5 episodes at the very minimum done.
Yes. Look, y'all, if I could have a 3-hour conversation with Dr. G and have my podcast up in less than 2 hours after that, you can do a course.
Absolutely.
And have at least 5 episodes at the end of it.
Yes.
So, I'm telling you.
Yes.
Well,
I'm getting kind of excited about it.
I know.
I was like, I guess I do kind of know a little bit about it.
Girl,
maybe a lot about it.
Boss. And then she'll be sitting at the table, and she'll be like just giving all this, and I'm like taking notes over here on my phone, like, oh my God, another one. And it's like, see, there you go.
That's so funny. It's so funny how that happens. It's like you don't, and this is kind of speaking to the audience as well, because there's so many times when we just have expertise and we just don't even realize we have the expertise.
Yes.
There's something that for whatever reason we have interest in, we've read about, we've looked at, and we have just built this fund of knowledge around that. When someone asks a question pertaining to that passion project, you're just like, boo, like you were saying all this stuff, and they're like, oh my God.
Yes.
And you don't recognize that.
Exactly.
So when you said that to me, I was like, oh, maybe I could.
Yes.
You know?
There was something that one of the docs, Dr. Maiysha, said, when we were sitting at dinner the other night, she said, our knowledge, the things that we have learned over the years as doctors, as medical professionals, that is our prime real estate.
Oh, yes.
That is our prime real estate. But I think we've been so conditioned that where our value is as doctors is in our hands.
Yes.
You know, as in working with patients, that we forget that really the real estate is our knowledge. And even as like people would say, when I transitioned out, you're not going to be a doctor anymore. No, I will always be a doctor.
That's right.
That knowledge is always in my head. I'm just leveraging it and using it in a different way now.
Right.
And so, you know, for you all out there who are listening to this, who are doctors, nurse practitioners, pharmacists, dentists, PAs, you know, all medical professionals who are wanting to step outside the box, you don't feel guilty about stepping outside of the traditional realm of practice.
That's right.
You utilize that real estate, your knowledge, in the way that fulfills you the most, in the way that gives you joy.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm looking at every time Dr. G starts talking about podcasts, she lights up. Right? For God's sake, she's talking at a podcast conference.
I am,
right?
Which is such a blessing. Oh my God. I can't tell you how much a blessing that is, because my podcast is not very old. You know, so in the world of podcasting, I have a baby podcast, right? But the thing is that even though the duration of time that my podcast has been on air, there have been almost 40 episodes, which is like well past that point when you're gonna like quit.
Wow.
So I didn't even know that I made it through the barrier, but apparently I did.
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
You know, and so the podcast is about fear, and I said I am going to be authentic, and I'm going to face my fear. And when the call for speakers came through, I was like, they're not gonna pick me. Like, my podcast is a baby podcast, whatever. It's really a small niche of people that listen to it. And I said no. I would be doing my tribe an injustice. Ooh, making up words. An injustice by not applying.
Right.
And so I applied. And they said yes.
Yes. And you know why they said yes? Because you're a physician. Because you have those special letters after your name. You see, because here's the thing that makes us unique is that most people who see doctors only see this aspect.
Yes.
And now they see this doctor doing podcasts.
Yes.
They're like, I want a piece of that. You know, so, you know, it speaks to, so another thing that got talked about at the Thrive 2G conference is imposter syndrome.
Yes, and we have it in
droves.
droves.
In droves.
We do have it.
And it's part of the conditioning, right?
Yes.
It's part of our conditioning that has given us that imposter syndrome. But here it is, you know, my podcast is a baby podcast, and then you're inspiring people. You didn't even realize it's like you plant the seed under the tree in which you will never sit.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so, I just want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
You know, for surpassing that milestone and like far surpassing it. And like really, it's a huge accomplishment to be invited to speak at such a conference.
I am very, very grateful and super humbled by it. And the thing that's interesting about it is now I am able to spread my wings even further, like beyond, you know, my little world, because I'm getting to meet some amazing women. Because the podcast, the conference is called She Podcast Live, and it's for female podcasters.
Yes.
And it has just been an amazing experience, because just collaborating with other female podcasters, hearing their stories and just how they approach things, it's just been amazing.
Yeah. You know, as I'm thinking about, I'm listening to, and I'm thinking about what is a theme that has come up over and over, and that's ripping off the Band-Aid.
Yes.
I think I've just named my first podcast.
Boom.
There it is, ripping off
that Band-Aid.
Yes. So I want you to tell the audience how they can get in touch with you, how they can follow you,
and how I can release the course
so they can know when this course is coming out. You know, I'm going to be a loudmouth about it.
OMG.
Charmaine, your new best friend, girl. Yes. I'm going to keep you accountable.
I mean, I totally appreciate it, because to be honest, I think that when we put things out there in the universe like you did, and you know, we believe that they're going to happen. We envision them. We have the faith that they're going to happen. They really truly do happen, and they happen in amazing ways. And so, you know, when our paths cross, because I mean, we've known each other, but we've known each other for years. I know, online, crazy, right? Like crazy. Virtual relationship. Yeah. And so, and then we finally met.
Yes.
At this conference. It is so bizarre. I mean, our paths have kind of crossed, and we've had, you know, similar connections and all these things, but we never met. And it is, you know, there's a reason why our paths crossed. There's a reason why you're pulling the trigger on your podcast.
Yes.
There's a reason why you are pushing me to get this course out, because it's needed.
Yes.
And your tribe needs to hear from you from the podcast standpoint.
Yes.
And my tribe needs to hear from me from how to get their podcast going.
And my tribe needs to know how to get a podcast going. So I need to send them to you. So I'm just saying.
Oh, how can they contact
I'm just
me?
saying.
Yes, back to that. All right. So I am on LinkedIn at Charmaine Gregory, MD. That's probably the best place.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And I'm also on Facebook at the same Charmaine Gregory, MD. But I don't have like a solid date in which it's going to be done, but it will be done before the end of October.
Yes, ma'am.
It'll be done.
Well, look, so I am here. You all know how to, you all follow me at Dr. Everything is at / Dr. Maiysha, at Dr. Maiysha. So I'm going to be the one to let you all know, and I'll probably have Dr. G on again so that she can do the formal announcement.
Oh, the formal announcement.
The formal announcement of this podcast course. So don't worry. Between the two of us, the tribe is going to know.
Oh my gosh.
The tribe is
so
going to
exciting.
know.
So exciting. I'm so excited that this is happening, that this is like real, for reals.
What about Instagram?
I am on Instagram, and I'm Instagram the same, Charmaine Gregory, MD.
Okay, we got it.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for not only coming on and being my first podcast
Oh my gosh, I feel like so special.
But also for being an inspiration for myself, for my tribe, for everyone that you touch and you speak to. I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
You are welcome.
And I appreciate you.
Yay.
Oh my goodness. We're going to have like a love fest over here now.
I was running the wrong area, y'all.
Oh my God.
All right, y'all. So here we are, next level physicians, creating careers that you design, thriving outside the box. You know how to get in touch with me, www.drmaiysha.com. And you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter at Dr. Maiysha or / Dr. Maiysha. We'll see you on the next one. Namaste. Thanks for listening to the Next Level Physicians podcast with Dr. Maiysha. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn at Dr. Maiysha or / Dr. Maiysha on any of these platforms. Or if you want, you can listen directly through my website, www.drmaiysha.com.